All right, welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Golden Rhino Games Hobby Talk, and today it's me, Ian, with my partner here in crime.
What's up?
Luke. So it's been a couple of weeks. We've been working on some stuff. We have nothing to show you but some gray models. No, actually, we've got some really cool 3D printed models, as well as the first plastic-ish model to come out for one-page rules in the Grimdark future game. This is gonna be really cool. I am excited for it, but before we really get into that and our special guest, Zach, our store ranger, we're gonna talk about some events. But before we get into that, Luke, what are you excited about?
Ooh, what am I excited about?
I don't know.
Oh,
you tell me.
just general open
Just in
event?
general,
I thought
yeah.
that was the leading question.
Yeah.
So really, I guess excited about, like, I know we're going to talk about it a lot, but like the one-page rules, like getting physical models finally is really cool to see. Because I know that's been something that's been kind of hard for a lot of people. It's like, it's great if you're already in the wargaming community and you've got something that, like, you know what you're looking for, right? But it's hard when it's someone who's just getting into the scene, when they're like, it's the dizziness of freedom almost, where you've got so many options, you can do whatever you want. What are you going to do?
Right.
And so now you have the definite options that don't require you to invest in your own 3D printer or going through a service or something like that, right? And looking at the models, like they've touched them up, there's more detail, they look a lot better.
Yeah,
Right.
which is really hard to tell.
Yeah.
Honestly, these look great even.
Oh
at a
no, they're
distance.
fantastic models.
Yeah. So no, I'm very excited with that as well, because as someone like you said, I think if you're in the tabletop miniature hobby already, like, okay, cool, I can grab this, I can bash that, I can proxy this, right?
I've already got the models.
I've got the models. But man, if you're brand new and you see your friends playing it and you want to get into it, you go into the store, what do you ask? Like, hey, I know of a game that exists, but I don't know what to buy.
Yeah.
It's essentially what we get. And so the fact that they're coming out with this new 2-player box set is going to be great, honestly. And it's like my 2 favorite sculpted armies in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's the cool robots and the space lizards.
Yeah.
I do not remember their names at all. I just know what they look like.
Star Host Saurians, I want to say?
Saurian Star Host.
Saurian Star Host is the other one. I could not tell you the robots.
They're cool robots. The what robot legions or something like that? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, super cool. A very unique aesthetic to them, even though they are very adjacent to other tabletop miniature games, right? But other than that, we do have a lot of events coming up, including a cool Horus Heresy one that I guess you could talk about.
Yeah.
So here.
Ian will let me do the heresy stuff if I really want to. No. So this is actually an event that I'm running myself, and I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, we are, before we do that, we are doing the event schedule. This is for April 18th through the 27th.
Yes. So just going through the whole list, starting with my personal favorite. I'm not biased at all. We're doing the Siege of Chthania narrative event.
Yes.
So for those of you who don't know or aren't super familiar with 30K, they release every so often campaign books focusing on the major battles for the Horus Heresy in its entirety, right? We've had Battle for Beta Garmin, we've had the Battle for Mars, and now we have the battle for, well, the Siege of Chthania, which is Horus's homeworld. In terms of like how it impacted the overall narrative, it wasn't that big of a deal. But it has a lot of really interesting like side plots that delve into, you know, the fight between the Imperial Fists and the Sons of Horus outside of the Primarchs, right?
Oh, nice.
And the campaign rules themselves are actually really interesting, and that's the thing that I wanted to lean into, is this isn't going to be your standard 3-round like RTT style event. One of the big things that this campaign system does is it adds in what's called campaign stratagems.
I was going to say, but Luke, how do you do a campaign in a single day?
Way ahead of you. So the way campaign stratagems basically work is they are modifiers to how you either build your army and play it, or how the game itself is set up. So for example, one of them is like, the way it's meant to work throughout the campaign is you get to use them once per campaign in a given battle, right?
Oh, okay.
So one of them is you can move your deployment zone by up to 6 inches. So give yourself an extra 6 inches, or maybe move it a little further back for whatever reason you might want to do that.
So if we were playing in a campaign, and we've got a week of games that we can play, of the 3 games I can play, one of them, I'm going to pull that trick.
Yes. And there's other ones where it's like one of them is you can take an extra heavy support slot. I've added in a couple extra ones in that same sense of you can take an extra elite, you can take an extra fast attack. So if you're playing like, let's say, White Scars, right, and you want to run all of the jet bikes, because that's what they do, right? Now you can have a list where you lean just a little bit more into that. And so the idea with this event is that players will submit 3 lists, 1 per round, and you're allowed to swap out units, but you have to keep like the same faction. You show up playing Sons of Horus, you got to play Sons of Horus throughout the day.
Gotcha.
But you're allowed to swap out units because you're also swapping out which campaign stratagem you're using. And so, if you're taking the extra heavy support one, you've got to change your list because you can't take 4 heavy support slots throughout the entire day. But I'm really excited for this because it's leaning more into the narrative, like goofiness almost of these campaigns, where things aren't standardized anymore.
Yeah,
You're going to be
it's reenacting.
It's reenacting, right? Yeah. And it's not about, what's the most powerful list I can make with this? What's like, how can I make the coolest and most thematic army with these rules?
Nice.
And another thing for that is like, and I know I'm kind of rambling on this a bit, but I'm really excited for it. Inducti are a thing for the Siege of Chthania. Like, think of them as like drafted Space Marines, almost, where like the narrative explanation is as the Horus Heresy was progressing, there's not enough Space Marines, so they expedited the process and just started, machining them out as fastly as they could, mass producing them, right? Mass-produced Space Marines is kind of a scary statement.
Yeah.
And these are called Inducti. Every Legion has some, but in most games of Horus Heresy, you don't see them that often because you can't take them as your required troop slots. And most people do tend to like, not min-max, but like what's good and what's not.
Of course, yeah.
And the Inducti are just kind of a side grade.
Okay.
So, yeah. But for this event, you can take them as your compulsory troops and their scoring. Because I really want to see people bring them out and play with these more narrative, interesting rules that maybe aren't the most powerful or the most competitive, but they're cool, right?
Yeah.
And they build up that campaign.
Nice. That is really cool. That's really unique. So that is on April 19th.
Yes.
As the Siege of
Chthania.
Okay, I'm going to believe in your pronunciation there.
Everyone pronounces it differently. Don't you worry.
Yeah, for sure. So we're looking at, what, a 3-round event?
3-round event.
So 3 different lists,
Yep.
right? So 3 different stratagems, and how many points roughly?
2,500.
Oh, 2,500.
Yep. You can go a little under if you want. Don't go over.
Yeah, got it. But then you have a list to help you with that potentially too.
Yes.
So,
And I will say also, just for ease of running the event, please show up with a hard copy of each of those lists
good point.
to turn into the event organizer and also for your opponent.
Yes.
Because I trust all of you guys, but I just want to make sure that we're all on the up and up.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, especially if we use something like Longshanks, it
Yep.
can only track 1 list at a time.
Yes.
So that would be tricky otherwise, but cool. That actually sounds super awesome.
Oh, yeah.
If I can play my Sons of Horus in that, I will be there. But yeah, coming up after that, actually the same day, so that'll be one of the last events that we have in our event hall. Same day in the store, we're going to continue our Ravaged Coast Path to Glory for Age of Sigmar. This has been a ton of fun so far. Mike Arnett has been doing a great job getting people in and excited about the narrative aspect of building your army rather than just building a character. It all takes place in Warhammer Age of Sigmar using the Ravaged Coast campaign book, which has been super cool. So come on in. If you still want to join us, please, no problem. Drop in. We'll get you started. We started out at 1,000 points, and based on how we played games, we've been able to level up our armies and continue on. And it's been a lot of fun. On the 24th, that's going to be that Thursday, we've got our Star Wars Shatterpoint Beginner Night. That'll be starting officially at 6 o'clock, but if you can arrive early, awesome. Brian, we had him on last time. He's going to be helping us out for this event. It's just 2 rounds. The idea is that you show up, you play a 90-minute round. We show you how to do the standardized format. You run a chess clock, things like that. And then once the round is over, we're going to take a little break and then come back and do the next round. Basically from 6 till 10, and then we're out of there. And that's it. It's super simple, and it's great for beginners playing Star Wars Shatterpoint for the first time, or who have played a few games and want to get into that more rhythmic pace of a tournament. That way, on May the 4th, we can actually do our Star Wars event and have some fun with that. Luke's going to be there.
Yeah.
So there's a Luke there somewhere. But
The only food we're offering there is the Luke,
Yeah.
so gotta get that.
so yeah, it's our Reuben sandwich from the cafe.
After that, on the 26th, we have yet another 40K Rumble in the Room 2K tournament.
Last one.
It is the last one. So if you haven't played in one yet and you want to, now's your chance.
Yep.
If you have played in one and want to again, because you had so much fun at the last one, now's your chance.
Yep.
Right? Just a standard three round RTT of style event.
got
But it's good for, returning 40K players to keep playing, for newer guys to come in and keep playing. And really, that's just what it's there for, is to give you guys an opportunity to come in and get those 3 rounds of play guaranteed.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. This does use the tournament pack, so
Yep.
we will have the terrain mats down as well as terrain buildings on it, as well as the objective tokens out. So there will be that standardized structured feel for it. So you can get a good idea of how a tournament is played in the competitive scene. Nice. After that, on the 27th, we've got our 100-point steamroller. So speaking of competitive events, this is going to be that 2-list, 3-round event for War Machine. You're going to come in, have a 100-point list, and each round you're going to choose between your 2 lists to play with. This has been a lot of fun in the past, and I'm really excited now because we've seen a lot come out for War Machine, and we've seen a lot of the newer armies get some polished rules and updates and things like that. Zeke and the rest of the crew have been awesome to help us set this up, and it's really good. It'll be on the last Sunday of April, the 27th, and that will be officially the last event that takes place in the event hall because we have the swap meet in here.
Yes. So, as Ian said, we're going to be running the swap meet on the 27th. This is true for everyone who is engaged in wargaming or model collecting or anything. We've all got stuff that we don't really need or want anymore at this point.
Needs a strong
Needs
word.
a strong word.
It's the want that's the
But
issue.
the want is the big point, right? And there's always going to be stuff that you have just sitting on your shelf that's been sitting there forever. You haven't gotten around to painting it. You haven't even gotten to taking it out of the box, right? This is a good opportunity to bring it in, get rid of it, sell it off to someone who might get a little more use of it, put that on your store credit, and then apply it to something else, right?
That new stuff, pre-orders, whatever it may be. Basically, dust off your closet, get out your old stuff, anything tabletop miniature related, let's be clear. RPGs, board games, miniatures, paints, anything like that.
Please don't bring in your old bike.
Or underwear.
Yeah.
It's not a garage sale, right?
But yeah, tables are $20 for the full. It's a 6x2, I believe, because we split it up by half.
Split it in half.
But I believe that goes back to you store credit.
Correct.
So
$10 of it goes back to store credit.
Yes.
Yep. Which you can turn around and spend on the vendors that day.
Yes. So.
But yeah, every single time we've done this, we do it every quarter. It always sells out. So we are going to have 12 different vendors in here, all with different things that they're looking to buy, sell, trade, and swap. And the treasures are up to what you decide, right? Golden Rhino Games though does have a stance. There cannot be any exchange of money or cash or anything like that. Every exchange must be done in store credit in the store. So Luke, if I wanted to buy something from you and I got $20 bill, cool. We're gonna go up.
Gotta go through the register.
I give it to you. It's $20 in store credit. You can spend later on today if you want, but I get to take some of your toys. It's a way to support the store and the location and keep the community going. The other thing too is that if there is any arguments or decision making about the price of something, we will not step in and make a determination on that. It's your stuff. Decide between the two of you. We've never had any issues at all, ever. It's just some basic guidelines that we set up for that. The summer swap meets are going to be coming up in the 3 months after that, but this will be our spring swap meet on April 27th.
Doors officially open for that at 11, but I do recommend getting here a little early because while people are setting up, people will come up and be like, oh, that's really cool. How much do you want for that? So if there's something where maybe you're starting a new army or you're looking for a new project,
there you go.
Come in early and maybe get those good deals.
Yep, for sure. Vendors will get to open right when the doors open up at 10 a.m. So they get first dibs on the tables. You guys come in, set up your tables, and then at 11, the official start time will continue. And it will run until the store either closes or everything wraps up. In most cases, it does wrap up about 2 hours early. So between that 11 and 4 p.m., right in that middle is that sweet spot. So keep that in mind. But yeah, after that, we do have our May the 4th Star Wars Shatterpoint official tournament. That's going to be really fun based on the number of players. It's either going to be 3 or 5 rounds. You only need 2 squads, and you're going to be coming in playing 90-minute rounds. There will be chess clocks, but this will be your standardized format tournament to kind of celebrate Star Wars. Brian's helped us out a lot with that, growing and fostering the community for Star Wars Shatterpoint, and then some. But this is really our focus for that event, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. All right. So we have talked about many other segments in the past, but this time around, we've got a lot of things to talk about one-page rules. We brought on a guest. We've got Zach, who's actually a store ranger for us. One of the things that I really wanted to show off, too, is the new miniature quality that we have for our little plastic guide compared to the 3D printed models. Zach has gotten a few of those 3D prints actually here for us to see. He's painted them up, and they're super, super cool. I really do like one-page rules. Have you actually had a chance chance to play it?
I haven't had a chance yet, no.
Okay, I will recommend you should play it because it's one of those ones where you're going to look at it and be like, yep, I know how to play it because we've been playing miniatures games forever.
Yeah.
But the tactics on the table really determine how the game goes. And it's
Okay.
a lot of fun. So we're going to bring on Zach. All right, guys, and I've got Zach here with me. This has been awesome to see all of the one-page rules, actions, and things like that. One-page rules for you that, if you're not familiar with it, is kind of that back-and-forth, alternating action, skirmish-esque game. I say that because you still play in squads and you still have unit activations, but it's far less complicated. In fact, it used to be on one page, right? Now, today, Zach is actually our ranger for the store. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Cool. So before we get too far into that, Zach, tell me a little bit about yourself, about how you got into this and what you enjoy about one-page rules.
So there's a direct pipeline between playing Dungeons and Dragons, painting miniatures, looking at all the things that are in stores just like this. What's Warhammer? Let's get into Warhammer. Warhammer was really big, and we'll put that off for a later date. And then we'll try something simple. We'll try one-page rules.
Cool.
And then after that point, I've never looked back.
Yeah.
As far as tabletop gaming goes, it's fantastic.
Legit, man. Well, what got you into tabletop miniatures then?
So mostly from the painting aspect.
Okay.
I'm more from painting. I used to be a commission painter for years.
Okay.
Kind of until COVID, everything kind of changed at that point when the Fire Nation attacked. But
It's a good way to put it.
that's exactly what happened. But I wanted to get into something. I love painting miniatures. I wanted something to do with them.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep.
And I really liked one-page rules because it is a miniatures agnostic game.
Okay.
You can play with the models that you think are the coolest.
Yes.
So whether they are models from a company sold for that company's game, or
yeah.
models from something that from a game you used to play that is now sort of defunct, and you want to give them a second life.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. When I was first introduced to one-page rules, it was really presented to me as an alternative directly to Games Workshop's Warhammer 40,000. I'm not sure it was even called Grimdark Future at the time. Then it was literally, I had people when I worked at Games Workshop. Actually, when I worked at the Warhammer store in Ann Arbor, I had customers come in and be like, "Well, have you played one-page rules?" And I'm like, I'd never heard of that before, right? Because I had the GW hat on. And it was kind of my first introduction to it. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting that there's basically a group of people that decided Warhammer 40K is cool, but too complicated, and I need to simplify it. And it has evolved drastically since then.
Yeah, it is very different now.
The models agnostic portion of it too is really interesting too, because when you get a lot of people that are into a new game and they're like, oh well where do I get models for that? And the answer is, well, any, right? That can be a little bit of an enigma within a Rubik's Cube. They don't quite grasp it right away, like, why can't I just go pick up this thing off the shelf? But the answer is you can. It can be anything.
I feel like one-page rules is a great hobby enabler.
Yeah,
It's great
there you go.
and it's things I would like to circle back to, but it's great for a first player's game. It's great for, I've played games, but I haven't played them in years. It's great for, this particular game has upset me and I have feelings about it and I want to play something different.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But it's also great for, I've looked at those models for years and I don't really want to start an army, but I want some of them.
Yeah, I want a reason to buy them. Please give me a reason to buy them.
Yeah. So if you looked at Skitarii or Daughters of Cain or whatever the thing is that you like, but you're like, oh, I don't know if I want 2,000 plus points of this. That's okay.
Yeah.
One-page rules is here for you.
Yeah, right. Now, okay, so we talk about one-page rules as kind of a company, right? Because it is. It's now its own company, and you are actually, I'm not going to say part of that company. You don't work for them, but you work with them to help promote their rule set and their games. And very soon, their new model sets, which are coming out, which are really awesome, and I am very excited to have in store. But that being said, this is a group of individuals that was like, we can take any models we want and make it unique for our game system. So we have a fantasy element, right? But we have a futuristic element. And one-page rules represents both of those things, but their games now have broken off into that. What are the different games that people can look at from one-page rules?
So you essentially have two paths.
Okay.
You have, for sci-fi, you have Grimdark Future, and its skirmish variant called Firefight.
Okay.
And then you have Age of Fantasy, which the name is similar to another popular game.
There's a couple that mix there, I think.
So you have Age of Fantasy, and then you have Age of Fantasy Skirmish.
Okay.
There's also Age of Fantasy Regiments, which is square bases, flanking, positioning, that sort of thing. like another game that you might be familiar with.
Gotcha.
There are a few other games. One that I haven't played yet, but I would like to, is called Warfleets. It
Okay.
is similar to kind of a Star Wars Armada kind of thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say Space Fleet game. Actually, I bought the rules for that one because they had, I think, like an extra Kickstarter. No, not Kickstarter. I'm sorry, a Patreon extra that you could buy into. So I made sure to get the extra rules for that because I'm a sucker for fleet games, even though I don't get to play them.
I've heard it's very good. It's just on my list of things to get to try, but there's never enough hours for as many games as we'd like to play.
Right.
They've also come out with newer versions of their games called Quest, which are PvE. So you and I could sit down with our little individual characters that we've made.
Okay.
And then the idea is to take your model collection off the shelf and use them as AI-controlled bad guys.
Okay.
And you kind of play through waves. It's a little bit.
that's cool.
It's a little bit Diablo-ish.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hack and slash like.
Yeah, it's very hack and slash.
That's sweet. Wow,
but,
yeah.
But the way the AI runs is open to for your decision making. You can I know this unit will do this, so I can make these decisions. But it's kind of cool. It's a way to if you want to play at home or if you want a different kind of experience, you can break your models out, do that as well for Quest. It's very cool.
Nice. That's super cool. Now, I think we've tried some elements in events like this before, but is it possible that we could do the Age of Fantasy and armies in battle against the Grimdark future armies?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's
That's really unique. That's cool.
actually something we're going to be doing a little more regularly. We've recently finished. A few weeks ago, we finished up a Age of Fantasy skirmish, kind of narrative league that a few of us here put together. And one of the things we wanted to do is, after we played a lot of skirmish, we want to go back to some full army size.
Yeah, that's fair.
But everyone's wanting to play different things. The games are completely balanced against each other. In Grimdark Future, you'll have a little more elite unit. You'll have more high damage weaponry, tougher armor, things like that. Age of Fantasy, you're going to have more guys, more bodies on the table. So you'll have more activations usually. You'll have a better control of objectives.
Yeah.
So they kind of balance each other out. And the rules, the keywords, everything are the same between all of the games. If you have an army like the Lust Demons here, their list is the same in both games.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to get into it and start with one army, you play demons.
Yeah.
Because you can play whatever you like with the same list.
That's cool.
The point values don't change between the games. So if you build
okay.
a 2,000 point Grimdark Future demons list, it's a 2,000 point Age of Fantasy demons list.
Oh, that's handy. Yeah. I mean, that kind of harkens back to like their original kind of mindset, right? Is we need a rule set that is simple to play and easy to understand, but maybe hard to master.
Yes.
But it fits within a time schedule that we all maybe can actually commit to, right? There's nothing worse than being like, oh, cool, I've got a half day. I'm going to go up to the store and I'm going to play this game. It's going to take me like, 2-3 hours. And my buddy ends up arriving late. The game runs long. And now it's 6 to 8 hours later, and now I'm getting home, an hour after I said I was supposed to.
That is one of my favorite things about this game. Skirmish, and again with the caveat of once you're more familiar with the rules, but Skirmish plays in about 30 minutes.
That's really fast.
Maybe 45 if you're really kind of dragging it out.
Okay.
The full-size army game we usually play in about an hour.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So when we have our third or every other week
Meetups.
our meetups on Thursdays, it's very often that people will rotate around or will re-rack for,
Nice. Yeah.
We might switch sides of the board, change terrain, change what mission we're playing. But you can get several games in an evening.
Nice.
Or in an afternoon.
I know in the past, last year, we actually ran a couple of events, and we actually had somebody show up for thinking it was a Warhammer 40K event because, well, we used a Warhammer 40K art piece, but it very clearly said 1-page rules Grimdark Future event. So that's on me. We're not doing that anymore. But it was funny. The guy walked in and he has his Primaris Space Marines, right? I'm ready to play my Raven Guard. And he's talking about how he's so excited. And we're like, pause. Do you know what 1-page rules is? He goes, I've heard about it, but I don't know what it is. So anyway, about my Raven Guard, pause. Do you know that you are playing in a 1-page rules event today? Oh, I don't know. And he learned the game in the first round, and he played all 5 rounds, and he had a ton of fun.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, that was awesome. That is a very unique experience. That is very hard to play off with almost any other miniatures rule set. But because it's limited down to about, 4 or 5 pages at most now, right?
Yeah.
And this is, I should be clear, with added on content, because they have it broken up that way. That's still very accessible for people.
Yeah, 1-page rules is kind of modular. It's kind of the Garanimals of wargaming.
Garanimals.
in that the basic game, those rules are free. Anyone can download them and play them. It plays very quickly. It's easy to pick up, but there are lots of extra things you can add on. There are extra activation types. There are extra deployment options. There are optional rules for command points and stratagems and interactive terrain features and just random events that can happen in your game.
Nice.
That are all kind of just bolt on.
Yeah.
They're kind of like general frameworks of if you're playing a tournament, you may want to use these groups of rules, but not these.
Cool. Oh, so it's even got some good recommendations in there.
Yeah,
too.
it's got recommendations for like this kind of deployment, this kind of terrain, maybe these optional rules if that's the kind of tournament you want to run, and you're good. You can go.
I will say, when I was at Adepticon, walking down the halls and checking out the War Machine and Conquest, and then we made it to the back, and I was like, whoa, what are these cool tables, and what's going on here? And it was all the one-page rules guys, right? So it was 8 tables. Do you know how many of the 8 tables that we're actively playing were using actual one-page rules official models? Why don't you take a guess?
I don't know.
You were there.
I did. And I went to see the tournament. And when I went there, they were on break.
Oh, okay. So
maybe
take a guess.
half.
Half? 2 guys.
Really?
Two out of
Okay.
16 players. So there was the Machine Cults was one, and I think it was, I keep calling them geckos. What's the space lizards
The
called?
Saurian Star Host.
Saurian Star Host. Those are super cool. I cannot wait for those to come out.
I feel like they are arguably the most popular faction.
Okay, so I play Seraphon, as you well know, and I like Warhammer 40k the best. So this is literally like the best of both worlds for me. I cannot wait for these guys. But going back to that, it was really cool to walk up and down the aisles and to see the different games played. And each table had a unique element. There was like a cobblestone city type one. There was a very Manufactorum 40k-esque like looking one. But there was everything from someone that had kit bashed their entire army out of multiple kits to the person that was literally using Adeptus Mechanicus, Scutari, and vehicles and things like that to represent his Machine Cults army, right? There were a few people that had even sculpted some of the things in there, and then there was one guy, bless his heart, I love this army so much. It was Primaris Space Marines with My Little Pony, Hello Kitty heads. It was, I'll give him credit where credit due, though. He painted them very well. This was a very well painted army.
Were they perfectly cute?
They were perfectly cute. They were pink armor with black and silver trim with the white helmets and the cute little faces. And like, he went all out.
Okay, I'm into it.
Like, no, he like legitimately went all out. I'm not even going to knock the guy. So to each their own. It's your hobby. Do it the way you want to, right? But seeing all the different tables and all the different peoples interacting with each other with different armies across the board, all enjoying one game was awesome. And the fact that you missed them means you missed them by like an hour at most.
I'm sure. So, for the idea that you can kit bash your army, you can do whatever you
Sure.
want. The best part about OPR, this is my opinion by far, is the army builder.
Okay, explain.
It's called the Army Forge. They have a phone app, and it's on. They have a.
Oh, okay.
It's web based. Army builder is completely free,
Okay.
so you can go and build your list. If you are on the Patreon, you get access to the custom army builder.
Okay.
So if there is a unit that doesn't exist,
I've
you
heard
can
about this.
you can
Yeah.
create it, and they have an algorithm that will decide the points value based on what special rules you give your unit, what weapons you give your unit,
cool.
and that will work for the army game,
Yeah.
the skirmish game, everything. There are if there are people have used this to create community army books. So if you have a War Machine army
Okay.
that doesn't have a direct one-page rules analog already,
Yeah.
someone has made it and it has gone through balance validation.
That's cool.
So you can just pick it up, plug in your Troll Bloods or your Crips or your Khador and play.
Nice. That's awesome. And it's still in the one-page rules format. It's still in that quick, easy to understand and easy to play, alternating activations,
Yes.
right? But it is definitely difficult to master. I will say that because I played a game with Kevin O'Brien once where he brought his Doom demons, quite literally demons from the Doom universe, right?
God, that's awesome.
That was super cool, and there was a couple of them that kicked my butt. That was uncalled for. My cultists should not have fought back as well as they did, but it was awesome. But yeah, that stuff was super cool and very unique.
Yeah, I can echo that. It is deceptively hard to master.
Yes.
The alternating activations really play into that because you do not get a whole turn of I activate all of my things and then you must respond. It's I'm activating one unit, or in skirmish I'm activating a model. and
Yeah.
then
So actually,
that goes back and forth.
Let's pause there for a second, because if people at home haven't played it before or they would like to get into it, can you briefly describe to me how you would play and win the game?
Yes. So a basic game is usually 3 or 4 objectives.
Okay.
Each side deploys, and then we take turns activating our models. There, in the base game, there are 4 activations you can take.
Okay.
You can stand still and shoot. You can move and shoot. You can charge and melee someone,
Okay.
or you can move double your movement distance.
Okay.
And that's basically it.
Easy.
You control an objective by getting within 3 inches of that objective.
Very common.
Objectives in the base game are scored only at the end of the game.
Okay.
So
that
you
makes
have
that easy.
most games are 4 turns. So you have 4 turns to seize and hold those objectives. You can take them from your opponent, go back and forth, but in the default game, they're only scored at the end of the game.
Okay.
There are several missions where you then have progressive scoring, where you would score at the end of every round.
That's cool.
But for a new player picking it up, there's not a lot going on in the base game in a good way.
Okay.
It's not weighed down by a breadth of knowledge that you must have played this for the last 20 years to understand.
Gotcha. Yeah, it definitely feels like that too. Because, like I said, when I first got introduced to it, it would have been about 7 or 8 years ago now. Because it would have been, late 2016 probably, is when I got introduced to it. The idea to me, honestly, seemed very silly, right? Because I was so engrossed in Warhammer 40K for so long that why do anything else, right? And the answer is really simple. Time. You have time or you have money, you never have time for both. And this game gives you a little bit more flexibility in that, and I really did appreciate that. So,
Well, I've seen that in person.
okay.
A few weeks ago, there was a 40K tournament going on in the play hall.
Okay.
One player was kind of the floating like by player.
Yeah, okay.
We were playing skirmish. He built up a list with the models that he had present and was able to play a game while waiting for the next round of 40K to
That's
go.
hilarious. Yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah. You got to buy, and you happen to be up here with a couple of your buddies. You want to come play one-page rules? I don't know how. You will soon.
It's very easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mantra I have personally for one-page rules is more game for your game.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
If you have models that you love and an army that you like to play them double. Play more of them.
Right. Yeah. You get 2-for-1 usage, right? You got the Adepticus Mechanicus that you want to use in, either Kill Team or Warhammer 40K. Well, let's add on to that even more, right? You can now play one-page rules very easily, that's really cool. So, all right, you were talking about beginners and getting into it and things like that. What is something that really you find unique to one-page rules, whether it be Grimdark Future or, let's say, Age of Fantasy, right? So the two, I will say, core games for them rather than the spin-offs.
So there are a couple things. If you're new, I feel like it's very easy once you start looking at one army list, just pick the army that you think is the coolest.
That's fair.
And then just kind of glance through their units. If you look at any other armies, on top of that, all the keywords are pretty standardized. If a unit is fast works the same for every unit that has it.
Okay.
If a unit can ambush in, think Terminator, Steep Striking. Every ambush unit works the same.
Oh, okay, yeah. Keyword system, so universal special rules.
Yeah, it's very universal special rules. So once you have picked up how to play one army, you already understand how to play 80% of most every other army.
Nice.
Most armies have a keyword or two that's kind of their thing.
Okay.
So, for example, if you are playing Blood Brothers,
Okay.
What
would you most represent them with?
those are probably Blood Angel Space Marines.
Oh, okay.
Their special rule is Furious. A lot of other armies also have Furious. Furious, if you roll a 5 to 6 to hit, you get an extra hit.
Oh, nice. Yeah, exploding attacks.
Yes.
That's fun.
So they have exploding attacks. Furious is only in melee. There are other versions for that, but
Okay, of course.
But those
Different
go
keyword,
for
right?
different armies. But the beautiful thing is, once you play, you can play this list, figure out what you like, what you don't like, drop it, put in another unit. It's very modular in that way.
Yeah, that is really cool. Like the fact that there is a universal keyword that you can learn and then add to your library of knowledge, right? Over time, simply by looking at the different armies makes it really easy.
Yeah. Looking at your units, this is a very large unit.
Okay. Yeah.
you can kind of, once you've played a few games, you can kind of guess about how many points this is worth, about how many attacks this will have.
Okay. So
What
size
special
and-
rules it may have. Larger models will tend to have more melee attacks. They may have a special rule called Fear that makes them more damaging in melee combat. That plays into the morale checks that you may need to make. But one-page rules is very good for being able to kind of eyeball your opponent's army.
Yes.
Figure out about 80% of what they're going to do before you've started playing.
Oh, nice.
Not that there aren't surprises while you're playing.
Yeah, of course.
Once you bring in casting and things like that, you can be surprised what some units can pull off. However, just being able to, the initial ability to grok what your opponent's army can do, I feel like makes this game very approachable.
Yeah.
Because I'm not looking across the table and saying, oh God, what do these do?
Yeah, or because it is model agnostic, I don't know what that is. So can you explain to me what it does? Because there's a blanket size and base dimension, right? You can kind of start to imagine, right, what that's going to have. That's really handy. That's really unique. So I got a twist for you then. What is something you would like to see? Right, kind of wish listy here in one-page rules. An additional rule, maybe a terrain feature interaction.
I
anything.
would love more terrain. I want destructible terrain.
Ooh, okay.
That is the big thing I want. So terrain, especially, again, we're going back to skirmish. Terrain really matters.
Yep.
The terrain rules are usually very simplified.
Okay.
There are, you have difficult terrain that costs more movement to go through. You can have line of sight blocking terrain, dangerous terrain that you may need to take a test to, or take damage to move through.
Yeah.
Things like that. I want destructible terrain.
Okay.
Because if we're playing, especially, let's say, a high point game of Grimdark Future, we have our large tanks and walkers and big futuristic machines. You're hiding behind a concrete wall. I would love to be able to say, sir, I would like that concrete wall to not be there anymore.
Fire the artillery. Remove it.
And the good thing about OPR, all these, any kind of extra rules are modular.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have that in every game. If you want your wall that you're hiding behind to be completely as stable as the universe itself, that's fine. If you would like it to be optionally destructible, that's fine.
That's cool. Yeah, I could definitely see where there's a lot of narrative elements that can very easily be turned on and turned off. See fit.
Yeah, we've done that on a per mission basis.
Nice.
We've the league that we finished. We're starting. It's very easy to start to do a little game design yourself because everything goes through its own balance validation. So if you say, what if we had a mission where we do this, we do that. It's very easy to come up with those missions and then kind of run them through, make sure everything is pointed appropriately, and then move on with that.
Yeah, nice. Cool. All right, so let's kind of talk into some of the events and activities, right? So one of the big ones is that, just a couple of weeks ago on starting, what is it, the 3rd, April 3rd? April 3rd?
Yeah, April 3rd.
April 3rd, we started a bi-weekly meetup for one-page rules. We've had a few people show up. Obviously, we already had the group in the community. Now we just kind of have an anchored down date, which has been really nice. Tell me a little bit about what those nights look like.
So those nights are great. Those nights are perfect for if you're new and you've never played.
Okay.
We've had people come in who are like, what's this one-page rules thing I see in the Discord pop up?
Yeah.
It's like, let me show you. Let me pull up my models out of the box and get you started. You don't need to bring anything.
Okay, that's
You don't need to
nice.
bring anything. I have the new player kit,
Yes.
essentially. But we've had a lot of people show up that have, again, like you said, that are already in the community who are just kind of getting going. But every single one of us is excited to teach.
Cool. We really just want people to play, right?
Yeah, we want more people to play. It's the idea of one-page rules does not need to compete with your other games. One-page rules kind of lives in symbiosis with the other games that you play.
Gotcha.
Because if you have Magic on Fridays and 40K on Saturdays, but you're like, oh, I'd really like to come out to Golden Rhino and play another game for 2 hours.
Right.
That's what OPR is
Yeah.
for.
Not to mention it's a good filler army game, right? Like you mentioned before. I mean, if you're in between rounds or you're simply waiting for your lunch break to be over, right? If you got 30 minutes, hey, why don't you play some skirmish?
You can get a game in.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, it's right now we're kind of leaning into we're onboarding new people. We're doing some learn to play scenarios. Those are the future events I'd like to have specifically set up on the calendar for a learn to play day.
Yeah.
And I feel like one-page rules is excellent for not only have you not played this game before, you may not have played a tabletop miniatures game
Which
before.
is true. Yeah, that's very true. I feel like one-page rules can be the next step from board game to miniatures game for a lot of people, which would be a lot of fun. So speaking of events and things like that, if there was something that I could do for the one-page rules community, what would you like it to be?
I would love two things. Like again,
Ooh,
like we
now he's asking for two. See, I asked for one.
but then I get one out of the two.
Okay, that's fair. That's
So
fair.
I would like the learn to play events, like we said.
Yeah,
that
that's easy.
Organized, scheduled learn to play, where someone can say, okay, on this day I'll go learn to play OPR.
Awesome.
But narrative games.
Okay, explain.
So scenarios that are not just we're going to play 2,000 points, we're going to rock on. We've tend to have found that one-page rules really lends itself to thematic play. Whether we're doing, okay, the games we're playing this Saturday are we have all dropped onto this planet, we are competing over resources, so now the games that you're going to play, perhaps we're going to score points based on, we'll split up into two factions, we're going to war over these resources.
Yeah.
Or, if we're playing fantasy, we may have half the players being defenders holding a point, the other half are raiding that to steal some sort of relic or something like that.
I could see that. You could almost do it monthly. Like every month we have a new campaign that happens. It's a one-day event. It happens for 3 to 4 rounds or 5 rounds, whatever you need, right? And based on what happens, and that tells a little bit of a story that may or may not affect the next month's event.
Exactly.
And that would be super cool. Okay, I'm down. You got it. You get one of those.
The scenario we've talked about over and over again, it was previewed in OPR, had put out a tournament packet.
Okay.
Tournaments are something I'd like to get to.
Yeah. Yeah, we have hosted those in the past, actually. They're nice because they're a structured format that people can kind of show up and know, I'm going to play 3 games, right?
One of the layouts for the tournament is moon gravity.
Okay.
It messes with your movement.
My geckos are floating. Okay.
Exactly. You move a little bit further. You may have a roll for do I veer a little bit, but I think it would be fun to play on the moon.
That would be good. That would be good. What happens if we had a race on the moon? No, okay, we're just...
See, now you've got me spinning. I want to build that mission.
Yeah, right. Well, okay, so we can definitely look at that in the future. But in the meantime, where is a place that someone can get a hold, ask for help from you or somebody else for one-page rules?
So the Discord, the Golden Rhino Discord is the first resource. You can always DM me. If you do not have the OPR role, first get that for your account in Discord, so you see all the notifications, the pinged messages, things like that. Everyone in the OPR section has been very helpful. For everyone else,
again, we just want people to play with.
Yeah,
right?
we want people to play with, but we're also like we're all kind of want to have the same kind of good time.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's been a really good community to onboard into. I've seen a lot of different gaming communities, and they kind of, not that they fall apart, but cliques tend to develop.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that.
Yep. Well, so and I was kind of going to get to that later on, but I think now is a good time to talk about it because you mentioned the narrative event and the beginner event, right? I kind of came to a conclusion that I want to start doing a monthly or quarterly tournament format or competitive format for just about any game. But for every one of those that we do, there need to be 3 others that are not. So, and at least half of those should be beginner events, right? So we want to be able to say, hey, new people can come in and play these 2 months for sure and learn how to play. This month, we're going to do a narrative event. And at the end of the following month, that's where we're going to do our 3-round tournament, right?
Which I think is perfect for a game like this. It's perfect for just about every game because you need to build up your community. You need new people to come in. They need to become comfortable with the game system that they're playing and with the people that they're playing with.
Yeah.
So you have your learn to play events. You build into your narrative thing. Everyone's having fun. My space lizards are shooting your space lizards, and we're fighting over which version of the space lizard religion is true.
Yes, there we go.
And then we have our tournament where we may settle our beef.
Yeah, nice. I like that. I think that's super cool. All right, so I think that's pretty much all I've got for you today, Zach. Is there any last thoughts that you've got for me?
When are we going to see you on the table, Ian?
That is a good question. I tell you what, I've got a bunch of geckos in a box. I picked them up from Adepticon. I'm working on building and paint. Well, I mean, they're all built. Let's be honest, right? But I'm going to work on painting those up, and I'll get those to a table in the very, very near future.
Excellent.
Not the grim darkness of the far future. Right? Yeah, so cool.
The near, less grim, less dark future.
That's right. Well, seriously, guys, I really appreciate you jumping in and joining us for this video, this episode of Golden Rhino Games Hobby Talk. I've had Zach today. He's the ranger of the store offer one-page rules for everything from Grimdark Future to Age of Fantasy and skirmish games and all that kind of fun stuff. We'll hopefully get to play some fleet games.
Yes, please.
And if you ever want to learn how to play the game, contact me, the store, the staff, or Zach directly. We are glad and happy to have you here. Please make sure you join us on Facebook, Discord, and of course Instagram. And we do still have the Patreon. So if you ever want to ask your own questions or be someone that comes onto the show and has an interview like this, right, it would be great to have you, and the support helps us a lot. So from there, though, I really do appreciate it. And thanks again, guys. We will see you next episode.